When I started decluttering my house, I felt so overwhelmed. I didn't know what to keep and I didn't know where to put it. For instance, when I looked at the counters, they were like filled with clutter and filled with stuff, but some of it belonged on the counter and some of it didn't belong on the counter, but I didn't have a place where it was supposed to go, so I didn't know where to put it. And it would just get very overwhelming. And every time I walked into my kitchen, I just felt this anxiety of like, I just wish this stuff would go away, but I don't know where to put it. And I decluttered and decluttered, but this stuff was still kind of hanging out on my kitchen counter because I didn't have a place for it. It didn't have a home. It turns out you can declutter and declutter, but you actually have to assign the things that you're going to keep to a place where they're going to live, and that's going to be their home. So I'm going to give you my process for giving things a home and how I choose the home that they're going to stay. And there's some tips on there on like the best place to keep things and some general like rules of thumb that I use that definitely help me to choose a spot that makes sense for these things that I don't know where to put them. And as a bonus at the end, I'm going to talk about this whole category of things that I think we all forget. So this is part of my kitchen that just, it's a hot zone. Things just migrate here or they walk here or they land here. I don't know how it happens, but things in my house just end up on this little counter and it drives me insane. The first thing that I do is decide for each item, is it something that's garbage or is it a keep? So if it's garbage, that's easy, right? Like we throw it away or put it in the donation box or whatever the case may be. If it's a keep, then it has a home or it doesn't have a home. So if it has a home, that's easy. You just walk the thing to its home. If it's something that does not have a home, that's the hang up, right? I have this thing, I want to keep it, it doesn't have a home. If it's something that's new into your house, did you have this thing last week? Is this something that's been floating around your house for years that you actually do use, but it doesn't have a home? Or is this something that is new to your home that you suddenly need and have to have a place for because you saw it on sale last week and it was a really good deal and you thought, well, yeah, that would probably be useful. So I think you can see where I'm going with this. If it's a category of things that you never needed in the past and you just didn't like go out searching for it, but then you ended up with it, do you actually need it? Or is it maybe just something that you can actually let go of? So really decide before you give something a home, are you sure you want to give it a home? Like, are you sure? If you do want to give it a home, I would use Dana K. White's method of saying, where would I look for this first? Like, where would I go to find this thing if it were away? Now, the problem that we have is that, like in my case, there was no such thing as away. Like, I don't know if you've ever experienced this or if you've had this much clutter in your house, but for me, there was no place that everything just lived out. And even though I decluttered and decluttered, there was no away. There was no place that these things were supposed to live. And so I had nowhere to put them, and decluttering didn't really get rid of the things or get the things out of sight that needed to be away. So the first thing I would do is say, where would I look for it? And if there's a place that you would definitely go to find this thing, then that place is away. Go and put it there. And if there's not enough space for it in that place, you need to find a way to make space. You need to like remove the things. If you're gonna keep that thing, then something's gotta give and you're gonna have to take something else out of the space. Or you have to find another place for it. If there's not like a clear place, like this is where I would look for this thing, or if you're like me and you're like, well, I would look on my counter for that thing because that's where I store things, even though counters are not storage space. So I started assigning a home based on how much use I got out of the thing. If it was something that I used daily, then I put it in what I call my functional space. So in the room that I use the thing, in a space that is very easy to get to. Like, for instance, right here, this is my kitchen utility drawer where I keep things like spatulas. Why? Because I use them every day and I use them right here, right next to my oven. And so these are the things that I need, and I need them in this space. So that's the best use of that space. I don't want to store something like light bulbs in that space. I mean, that seems ridiculous. Nobody's going to put light bulbs in their kitchen drawer, like right next to their stove range. But that kind of thinking of how often do I use this thing will help you to choose a home for it. So if it's a daily thing, keep it right in your easy grasp. If it's a weekly thing, then it kind of depends on how much space you have. If you have all of your daily stuff close at hand and there's still a lot of space that you have available to you, then you can go ahead and put the weekly things in that spot. And if it's monthly or less, even if you have a lot of space, I would still keep it somewhere else. I would keep it not in a functional space, but instead in a storage space. So for me, my storage space would be my basement or in my laundry room. So I choose between if I'm going to store something in my basement or my laundry room based on how much I actually use it. If it's like Christmas decorations, that's gonna go downstairs in the basement. I just choose where things are gonna go based on, do I actually need it, or is this actually garbage or something that I can get rid of? If I'm gonna keep it, then where would I look for it? If I wouldn't necessarily look for it in any particular place, I think about the function of it. Does it need to be close at hand in my functional space? Is it actually like something that I'm gonna store and use monthly or less often? If it's used weekly, then do I have space for it in my at-hand reach, or maybe just on the peripherals, like higher up in the cupboards? I'm using my kitchen as an example, but you know, this goes for your laundry room or your bedroom, your closet. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna just talk quickly about some items. Like, this is very typical in a day or two. Like, I will absolutely find this much stuff like hanging out in my house. I'm gonna bring you in closer. Okay, so I brought you in a little bit closer so you can just see the randomness, okay? So I have a soda can, easy, garbage, right? I mean, I'll recycle it, but yes, I can rinse this and put it away right now. A pair of children's gloves. Now, fortunately, I do actually have a home for this. My home for this is going to be in our coat closet in this little cubby that I have for gloves. Let's go there. I have this cute cubby that you can see. It hangs on the back of the door, and my daughter's gloves go right there. Done. Next, I have some mail. I looked at this mail. It's an explanation of benefits for my health care. Some people keep these and file these. Do you know what I do? I shred them. You can find this online. Don't keep this paper around that you don't need. As a matter of fact, try not to even let it touch your counter. When it comes in from the mailbox, sort it as you walk in. Get the junk mail directly out. This isn't junk mail exactly. It's got personal information on it, so I'm gonna go ahead and shred it, but I'm gonna take it to the shredder right now. Okay, same thing. This is a bag of chips that just didn't get put away. I'm gonna put the bag of chips in the pantry. Now, light bulbs. Can I tell you, I think light bulbs were the first thing that I actually found a home for that weren't regular everyday items like knives and spoons and that kind of thing. When I heard about the concept of homing things, and I saw a light bulb on my, like this package on my counter, and I thought, so what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to find a home for every single type of thing, like even light bulbs? I did. I took it down to the basement. I got a little container, actually just an old box, and I collected all the light bulbs and I put all the light bulbs in there. Now I know they say don't keep things for just in case, but light bulbs are like a thing. They're like batteries, right? Like, you are absolutely going to need more light bulbs. They come in packs of 2 or 6 or 4 or whatever. You're not going to just throw away the light bulb because you don't need the second light bulb at this moment. You need a spot for your light bulbs. At least I do. And so I made a spot for the light bulbs, and it was the first thing that had a home, and I was very proud of myself, and I'm still proud of myself for having my box of light bulbs. And the last thing, I have this sweatshirt. It doesn't fit. It needs to be returned. And this ties directly into my bonus tip. Do you know what things never have a home? Like, they never have a home. Returns, gifts, because these are all things that are temporary. The temporary things in our house don't get a home because we don't need a home for them. They're only living here for a little while. This is how I solved the problem. So to me, this stuff goes in a category that I call temporary. I have a temporary home shelf for all the things that need space in my house for just a little while. I'm gonna take care of this. It'll get returned on Thursday when I'm running errands, but it's not gonna go today. If I have a gift, I'm gonna give it to the person in a week. I need a home for it from now until a week from now when I'm gonna give it to the person. Otherwise, I'm just gonna have this gift floating around and it's going to annoy me that I don't have a place to put this thing. Plus, when the day comes, I'm not gonna know where to look for it. I'm not gonna know where to put a present. It could be anywhere. Any place that I thought was a great idea. Have you ever done that? You think it's a great idea to put something somewhere and then you can never ever find it again, but you can remember that you put it someplace really specific. The temporary home solves this problem. So I'll show you my temporary home. And so here you have it. It's not special and it's not fancy. It's just a little shelf inside a closet in the laundry room, but it's a specific shelf devoted to things like returns, or in this case, this is my daughter's Valentine's. Valentine's Day isn't for 2 weeks. Where am I gonna put a giant box of Valentine's for 2 weeks? In the past, that would have just sat inside my office on the floor or on the office desk, making me insane for like 2 weeks. Now I have a place for it. So there's your bonus tip. Find a place and dedicate it to those temporary items, things that just need a home for like a little bit of time. It'll be the icing on the cake, the last few things that you didn't know where to place them. And when you go to do the thing, like give the gift or hand out the Valentines or make the return, you'll know where to look. And because these things come up a lot, you'll be looking on that shelf a lot. So if you see something that's getting stagnant there, then you know it's time to clear it out and figure out what you actually need to do with it and get it out of there, because that really is supposed to be like a temporary space. So there you go. I hope it was so helpful for you. I hope you can use the process. Decide if something's trash. If it has a home, put it there. If it doesn't have a home, make sure you actually need to keep it. If you do actually need to keep it, put it where you would look for it. If you don't know where you would look for it, find a place that makes sense, right next to where you're going to use the thing, if you're going to use it daily. If you're going to use it weekly, kind of close at hand. If it's monthly or less, it's really a storage item and it can go in a storage space. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you found this helpful, and I'll see you next week.